Does the technique over the lot vaunted new transportation framework Hyperloop very stay up to study? On the 1 week's technology camping we listen of a skeptical rail engineering who doubts if the framework is formally or commercially probable. We as well discover out which one of the planet's largest powerful computer security bloggers thinks on the bug in millions of machine shavings, and we ask if virtual fact will get off in the class. Whatever how Elon Musk says is undertaken really severely taking into account his path recording in defying skeptics who mind he would never construct a sports electrical car or a reused missile. So while he floated the concept of the Hyperloop, a top-rate transportation framework in a vacuo pipe, different companies leapt in activity. In Davos the 1 week, a business named Hyperloop Transport Technologies pledged how it would be declaring its at first business path the year. But the draft that seems to include got furthest is Maiden Hyperloop A, that has constructed a 500 meter testing path in Nevada. On technology camping we listen of Maiden Hyperloop's Anita Sengupta who tells us how all is on path for the at first business transactions in 2021, and of Gareth Dennis, a rail engineering. Same basic laws of physical science are the identical for Hyperloop as for top-speed railing, says Mr. Dennis, an advisor on top-speed railway for the Arcades Consulting. He explains how the more rapid a boat train goes, the shallower any trace in the path has to be. To top-speed railing, the curves include to be 10 km length, and house just at 200 mph to 250 mph. Hyperloop's departure to be rushing on at 700 mph, so the path will nearly include to be corpse direct. He believes how in countries in lot of constructed up areas the will indicate setting the Hyperloop in tunnels, a extremely costly industry. He as well has concerns on the trial of switch pods among various tunnels as they attitude a plant. But his largest question is on the power of any Hyperloop link in compare in thing love the UK's HS2 top speed railing draft, they are departure to include as lot as 400 pods leaving each time, that requires a enormous sum of infrastructure facilities. I fair dong t believe how is departure to be economically or ecologically sustainable in the close next. Hyperloop's backers say the mechanical engineering challenges are various of such on top speed railing and cannot be compared. They trust how big ideas requirement brave thinkers, but conclusion governments and investors in the bravery to shove the key on the type of draft could show the final problem. The year began in a main computer security alarm above 2 style flaws in shavings that could potential enable hacker attack to profit accessing to millions of devices. With later, the try to alleviate versus the risks of collapse and ghost has collected step. It has not lost completely swimmingly. The 1 week Intel informed customers to shoot a pair of patches following they inflicted computers to restart out of precautionary. The Australia computer security blogging Troy Surge tells us how these are really severe threats. Same lowest item is they are so spreading, through so lot devices, he says. He says the spectacular item on the risk is how it is really subtle, that is one cause why a exploit in shavings date behind lot year has just fair been found. He's a bit of a remind how computational and software program is facility, down there are things how can go incorrect how we may never include mind of up. But he adds how the convenience for common machine users is how so distant, down there is no testimony how collapse or ghost has been operated by hacker attack. While the news story of the flaws at first founded, one US agent informed how the just actual reply was to substitute all yours equipment. And down there is the conundrum for the computer security production, to lot monstrous warnings on threats that later failure to materialize may do human beings melody out while thing very hazardous comes on. Everything happened to virtual fact? A pair of year back, it was the hottest new technique tendency, but recently passion seems to include been dampened by the top cost of headsets and several doubts on if VR very does include uses for game. One location it is yet creature hard advertised is information and at the Bet Education Technology Equitable in London the 1 week, VR was lot in testimony. Wealthy Henderson of Lenovo, that has manufactured a new comparatively inexpensive independent headphones, said us how onto Lenovo's study, 23% of teaching staff include tested VR in the class, and 97% of such who also told its superior betrothal. Jennifer Holland, program officer for Dream at Google, says VR experiences that get school students to Mars or the Large Obstacle Reef incite emotion and miracle. She says family are as well proof thirsty to get these new training experiences household in them, ongoing formation external the class. Skeptics would spot out how schools include frequently found how new technique, of tongue laboratories to tablets, fails to supply results following the original passion. Schools may requirement to see more than testimony how virtual fact delivers length-term benefits up splashing out on new package.